Okay. Good morning, friends. Friends, good morning. So, let's begin with the lecture. Online students, can you hear me? Maitri, Shweta. Perfect. Okay. Now, guys, yesterday we completed section 28, charging section. If you remember, PGBP head we have started, no? So charging section, two types of charge. One, general charge. Second one, specific charge. General charge, profits and gains of any business or profession carried on by the assessee at any time during the previous year will be taxable under this head. Okay, no? How to determine that profits and gains we have seen yesterday. Two methods are there. One, direct method is there. Second one is indirect method is there. See, in the direct method, what is there? In the direct method, we take the incomes of the business, main incomes of the business, incidental incomes of the business. Then we take the incomes which are covered by specific charge. Then we take deemed PGBP incomes. Then we add all those incomes minus what? Deductions, which are available from section 30 to 37.1. Deductions available from 30 to 37.1. Okay, no? And minus the losses which are incurred in the course of business or profession. Then after reducing all these items, what we get? Profits and gains from business or profession. There is one more method, indirect method. Which method? Indirect method. To follow this indirect method, the profit and loss account or the income and expenditure account is given in the question. So we can follow indirect method. And in the indirect method, what is happening? We clean the profits given in the P&L to get the profits and gains from business or profession. So we take the net profit as per P&L. Add, less, add. Expense, income, expense, income. Expenses debited but not allowable under PGBP head. Incomes credited but not taxable under the head PGBP. Expenses not debited but allowable under PGBP head. Incomes not credited but taxable under the PGBP head. This is known as unrecorded business expense, UBE, and this is known as unrecorded business incomes, UBI. This and we'll do these adjustments and we are going to get the profits and gains. Now I told you that profits and gains, when you compute under the head PGBP or you compute IFOS income, the computation of taxable income under these two heads, computation of taxable income under these two heads will be done based on the method of accounting regularly followed by the assessee to maintain the books of accounts. But that is not required in the case of these three heads: salary, house property and capital gains. Okay. Now, few incomes also I told you that there is some misconception. We have to clear that misconception. Sometimes we feel that this income will be taxable under PGBP, but it is not taxable under PGBP, it is taxable under other heads. Sometimes you might feel that this income is not taxable under PGBP, but it is actually getting taxable under the head PGBP. Few examples of those type of incomes we have already seen yesterday. Yes or no? Then we started with specific charge. Specific charge. Few incomes we saw yesterday. Number one, compensation or other payments. In those four cases: termination or modification of managing agent agreement, termination or modification of agency contract, then vesting of management of any property or business to the government or any government corporation, or termination or modification of any business contract, Then we saw incentives, export incentives received by the assessee engaged in export business. What type of export incentives? Profit on sale of import entitlements or import license, profit on sale of DEPB, duty entitlement passbook, then duty free replenishment certificates, then duty drawback, then cash incentives from the government. Okay. Now these are the incentives which are available to the assessees doing export business. So these incentives will also be taxable under the head PGBP. Then any perquisite received in the course of business or profession, whether they are convertible into money or not, whether they are in cash or in kind, whether they are partly in cash, partly in kind, will not make any difference. Any perquisite, any personal benefit received in the course of business or profession will be taxable under the head PGBP. Then this income we are going to see later on. Okay, this income also we are going to see later on. Then I told you non-compete fees, if you remember. Non-compete fees will be taxable under PGBP. I gave you one example also, non-compete fees. One or two examples. My example, Starting Academy, if you remember. Then Anil Ambani, Mukesh Ambani, yes or no? Then non-disclosure fees also there. I gave you one example of Bharat Biotech, developed vaccines and all. Okay, so that non-disclosure fees is also there. So that non-disclosure fees will also be taxable under the head PGBP. Then there are two more incomes which we are going to study later on. Okay, one income is this amount received or receivable in cash or in kind on transfer of asset whose actual cost was allowed under section 35AD, and fair market value of stock in trade, fair market value of stock in trade which is converted into capital asset as on the date of its conversion. This income also we are going to see later on. Okay, now few incomes which we have not yet discussed. Few incomes which we have not yet discussed. Those incomes will be discussed in the PGBP head or any other head. Meaning, it will be discussed in IFOS and capital gain. That time we are going to see those incomes. Okay. Now see, this activity of owning and maintaining racehorse I have already explained yesterday. Casual activity, horse races and all, I have explained this also yesterday. Okay, now the first part of the chapter we completed yesterday. Okay, after learning the first part, right now we are in a position to know that which incomes are taxable under PGBP head. Okay, now whatever incomes are taxable under PGBP head, from those incomes you are going to get deductions. You are going to get, and deductions are available from section 32. Now different types of deductions. See, in salary chapter, no, from your salary income you used to get deduction under section 16. Only 3 deductions were available. One, standard deduction. Second one, entertainment allowance. Third one, professional tax. Only these 3 deductions were available under the salary head. From your salary income, under the head house property, only 2 deductions were available under section 24. Standard deduction at the rate of 30% of NAV and interest on housing loan. Only 2 deductions were available. But under the head PGBP, there are many deductions. And all these deductions are available starting from section 30 to 37(1). Now one by one we are going to learn about these deductions, 30 to 37(1). If any of these items are there, reduce these items from your business income. You are allowed to reduce these items from your business income to get the business profits. So whenever you will calculate the profits and gains from business or profession from your business income, the government is allowing you, the law is allowing you, Income Tax Act is allowing you that okay, this item you can reduce, this item you can reduce, this item also you can reduce. So all those items which you can reduce while calculating your profits and gains are nothing but deductions available from your business income. Given in which section? 32, 37(1). 32, 37(1). So first deduction which we are going to do is section number 30. Section number 30. Okay. Shall we? See, first is rent. First is, but before that, tell me, are you an assessee? Assessee can be any person. Okay. Now this assessee is doing any business or profession. Now in this business or profession, a building is used. Building means premises. Building is used. Okay, no? So in your business, in your profession, you are using a building. Can you give me some examples of such buildings which are used in the business or profession? This classroom is a building which is used in the coaching business. The academy's coaching business is there, no? So in the coaching business, this premises, this classroom is used. This is a building used in the business. Veena store, restaurant, that shop is a building used in the business. Then more examples. Factory can be there, factory building. So factory building can be used for manufacturing business. Yes or no? Shops, godowns, then office premises. Yes or no? All are buildings which are used in business. So you are doing a business in some premises. You are doing a business in some premises. That is nothing but building used for the purpose of business or profession. Now, some expenses you might incur for this building also. So any expenses which you incur on this building, and the building which is used for business or profession, are expenses related to your business only. Yes or no? So these are the expenses related to your business. Why? Because these are the expenses which are incurred on that building which is being used for the purpose of your business or profession. So now what type of expenses? Only 4 expenses are allowed under section 30. Only 4 expenses. Number 1, for this building, will you pay rent? Will you pay rent? Will you pay rates and taxes? Rates and taxes means municipal taxes, etc. Yes or no? Then, can you incur an expenditure on repairs? Can you take the insurance and pay the insurance premium? Did I write etc.? Am I talking about all the expenses of building or only these 4 expenses of the building? So these 4 expenses will be allowed as a deduction that is given in section number 30. Section 30 says that from your business income, you can reduce these 4 expenses. So whenever you will take the deduction of these expenses, you will quote which section? That you are taking the deduction of these expenses as per which section? Section 30. Who is giving you authority to reduce these expenses out of your business income? Section 30. Section 30 gives you the authority that from your business income to calculate your profits, you can reduce these 4 items. Yes or no? Number 1, rent of the building used for the purpose of business or profession. Second one, rates and taxes of that building. Third one, repairs of that building. Fourth one, insurance premium of that building. See, you can be the owner of that building. Hello? The building which is used in the business or profession. Can you be the owner of that building? And it is not necessary that you will always be the owner. You might have taken the building on rent. Now tell me, if you are the owner of the building, will you pay rent? Will you pay rent? So there will be no deduction for the rent. But if you are not the owner of the building, then for that building, will you pay the rent? Then the rent will be paid, then the rent will be allowed as a deduction. Now whether you are the owner of that building or not, you are going to incur these expenses. Yes or no? These expenses will always be allowed as a deduction. But only rent will not be allowed as a deduction if you are the owner of the building. Will you remember this? Sure, these four expenses can be claimed as a deduction, meaning can be reduced out of your business income to calculate your profits and gains. That is given in which section? Section number 30. Okay. Now tell me, any other expense of this building can be there? Any expense, any other expense of this building can be there. But will you take the deduction of those expenses? You can take, but not under section 30. It will be allowed under other sections. Hello? It is not necessary that, it is not the case that you are not going to get the deduction for those expenses. For those expenses will also be allowed because those are the expenses of this building only. Yes or no? Sir, give us some example. See, the building which you are using for the purpose of business or profession, you have taken this building by taking a loan. Can you pay the interest on that loan? That interest is also an expense related to this building only. Yes or no? So will that expense be allowed as a deduction? Yes, but not under section 30. Section 30 tells you to take the deduction of only these four expenses. Will you remember? So tell me, rent, will it be allowed? Yes or no? Only if the assessee is not the owner of that building. Then only you would have paid the rent. Then only the rent will be allowed as a deduction. Rates and taxes will be allowed. Rates and taxes means municipal taxes, property taxes, corporation taxes. Yes or no? The taxes of the building will be allowed as a deduction. Then repairs. Then repairs. And then insurance premium. Now these three expenses will be allowed whether you are the owner of the building or not. But rent will be allowed as a deduction only if you are not the owner of the building. Now, few important points to remember. See, we come to know that these four expenses are allowed under section 30. But while taking the deduction of these items, you have to be careful. You have to keep some things in your mind. Important points to remember. Rates and taxes. First of all, rent. Rent will be allowed as a deduction only if you are not the owner of the building. Now tell me, this is a partnership firm. Okay. Partnership firm is doing a business or profession. So in this business or profession, a building is used. A building is. And that building is given to the partnership firm by the partner. Possible or not? Partner is the owner of this building. So for example, myself and madam, what is your name? Bhagyashri. Myself and Bhagyashri, we both are partners in a partnership firm. Now to do that business in the partnership firm, we both want an office. Firm needs a office to do the business. So what happened? We had to take that office from outside on rent. Yes or no? But what Bhagyashri is saying? Bhagyashri is saying, sir, in our partnership business, no, we can use my office. Bhagyashri is also the owner of a building. Yes or no? So, who is this partner? Bhagyashri. Bhagyashri is the owner of a building. And that building, Bhagyashri is saying that, sir, we are going to use that building in the business or profession of our firm. We both are chartered accountants and we are running a firm of CA. So, our partnership firm of CA, where we do CA practice. Okay, no? We are running that partnership form, myself and Bhagyashri. But to run that form, we need an office. So where the office came from? The office where the firm's business or profession is going on, that office belongs to one of the partners. Bhagyashri is the owner of that building. Yes or no? Now tell me, firm is doing the business in any building which belongs to the, for that, can the firm pay rent to the partner? Yes or no? What will happen in this case? Is it an expenditure for the firm in the course of business, or on this building, firm can take the deduction of this rent as per section 30? Yes or no? Is it an expenditure in the hands of partner or income in the hands of partner? Bhagyashri will earn the rent, no? So for Bhagyashri, her property is let out. For Bhagyashri, her property is let out. Bhagyashri is the owner of a property, and that property Bhagyashri is not using in her business or profession. He is giving that property on rent to the same firm where she is a partner. That does not mean that she is using the property in her business or profession, because she is taking rent. The property is being let out. So for Bhagyashri, she will have to show this property under the head house property as her let out property. And Bhagyashri will pay tax on this rent under the head house property. Will you remember this? Yes or no? So firm can take the deduction of this rent if the firm has taken the building on rent from one of its partner. Rent is paid, no? So that rent can be taken as a deduction from the business income, from the profession's income by the firm under section 3030. Now what if Bhagyashri is not charging any rent? Possible, no? Bhagyashri will say, sir, we are going to use my office in the firm's business or profession. Yes or no? But I am not going to charge any rent for that. So is the firm paying any rent? Is there any expenditure happening? So there is no point of discussing about deduction. Deduction will be given only if there is an expense. Since there is no expense, there is no deduction. Hello? And what about Bhagyashri? Is she earning any income? Is she earning any income? So she is not going to show this property under the head house property. Why? Because this property is being used by Bhagyashri in her partnership business. It is as good as used by her for business or profession only. Yes or no? So she is not going to show this property under the head house property. Why? She is the owner of the property. Yes or no? But it will be considered as if she is using this property in her own business or profession. If this property is used in the business or profession of the firm where she is a partner, it will be assumed as if she is using the property in her own business or profession, and she is not supposed to show this property under the head house property. Firm is not going to get any deduction, and Bhagyashri is also not going to show this property under the head house property. Understanding? Everyone? Now see, another example I am giving you. Okay. Now tell me, this is, what is your name, person sitting besides Gokul? Adarsh. Mr. Adarsh. Okay. Adarsh, pardon me if your spelling is wrong, but I think the spelling is correct. Double A. ADA. Adarsh. Now it is okay. So this is Adarsh. Adarsh is running a shop. on his own name. Can I say that shop which he is running on his own name, where he is doing business, it is a sole proprietary business? Yes or no? So Adarsh is doing a business or profession, and Adarsh is the sole proprietor. Possible, not possible? So Adarsh is a sole proprietor of any business or profession. There is only one owner of this business or profession. In my earlier example, how many owners were there? Myself and Bhagyashri, we partners are the owners of that business. Yes or no? In the case of company, shareholders will be the owner. But in the case of sole proprietary business, only this individual will be the owner of the business. Okay. So for this business or profession, only Adarsh is the owner. He is a sole proprietor, and this sole proprietor is having a building. He is the owner of the building. Sole proprietor is the owner of this building. And this building is used by the sole proprietor in his own business or profession. Is he going to pay any rent to himself? Hello? But when Adarsh is making a P&L account of his business or profession, he is debiting rent also here on a notional basis. Debiting rent. Conservatism, accounting. So when he makes his accounts, so in his accounts, he has made P&L account, and in the P&L account, he has shown this rent on a notional basis. Thinking that if I would not have been the owner of this building, I would have taken the building on rent. So this much rent would have been spent out of my business. So let me record this much rent in my books. So he has just recorded this rent in the books. But is he actually paying this rent to himself? So if the rent is not spent only, the rent is just recorded in the books, recorded in the P&L as a notional expense, should this rent be allowed as a deduction? No. Even if it is recorded, it is a notional expense. It is an imaginary expense which is just debited, in the P&L account, and this is not a real expenditure, so no deduction for this rent will be allowed. So while calculating the net profit, what did I say? While calculating the net profit of this business or profession, to calculate this net profit, this rent was reduced. Will this rent be allowed as a deduction? So why have you reduced it? Add it back. So in your net profit, expenses which are disallowed, you have to add that back. So what you will do? You will add it back. Understanding or not? This rent will be allowed or will not be allowed? Because this is not real expense, this is notional expense. How the bloody hell you can pay rent to yourself from your own business? Hello? And even if you are paying from one pocket, you are taking, you are putting in another pocket, the money is with you only. Is it your expenditure? You are trying to fool us. Adarsh, are you going to get any deduction? No. Did you understand this point? Sure, everyone? Now one more important point I will tell you. Okay. For example, assessee is there. Okay. Adarsh. Adarsh is there. Now Adarsh has taken a building on rent. Adarsh has taken a building on rent. Okay. Now this building he has taken on rent. What is the rent Adarsh is paying for this building? For example, the rent paid by him for this building was 1 lakh rupees. How much rent? Now this rent is actually paid by him. And this building is used by Adarsh for his business or profession. Yes or no? Entire building is used? Tell me. Yes, full premises. So if I make the building properly, see this is the building, okay. This building is there. This entire building is used by Adarsh in his business or profession. So Adarsh is using the same building for his business or profession. Okay, no? Now, if the entire building, if this entire building is used for the purpose of business or profession, then this entire rent Adarsh can take as a deduction. But sometimes it is possible that the building which is taken on rent is huge. Adarsh does not require this much huge building for business. So what he does, he is just using 75% of the part in his business and the remaining 25% part of the business, remaining 25% part of the building he is not using for business. Rather, he is giving that part on rent to someone else. Can he do that? So now what is happening here? See, out of the building, what did I say? Out of the entire building, only 75% part is used. Meaning that only this particular part is used for. Used for what? Business or profession of the assessee. Entire building is not used. And the part, remaining part, okay, this is not used by Adarsh for his business or profession. Rather, this is let out. Let out means sublet. Sublet for a rent of rupees 30,000, 35,000. Possible or not? So, for example, this entire premises he took on rent. Entire premises he took on rent. Now he is able to do the business only in the 75% portion. 75% portion is sufficient. Extra 25% portion was lying idle. So what he thought? He called me and he told me, sir, you are a chartered accountant. If you want to open an office, I have some extra space available. You can open your office in this extra space available with me. Even if he is not the owner of the property, but some part of the property he is giving on rent to someone else. Yes or no? That is known as subletting. That is known as. So is he subletting the entire building or some part of the building? And by subletting some part of the building, 25% part, he is receiving how much? This 35,000 is his income. Understanding or not? And this 1 lakh rupees is the expense which he is going to pay to the landlord. So, tell me, landlord will get how much? Landlord of this building will get 1 lakh. So, this 1 lakh will be the income of that landlord, taxable under the head house property for that landlord. Yes or no? What about this 35,000? This is the income of Adarsh. Hello. So, this can be taxable in the hands of Adarsh. But wait, don't you think Adarsh is spending 1 lakh also? Expense is 1 lakh, which Adarsh is going to claim as a deduction under PGBP head, saying that this building is used for the purpose of my business or profession. 1 lakh rupees rent for this building I am spending. So give me the deduction for 1 lakh. Don't you think he should not be getting the deduction for 1 lakh? Because out of 1 lakh, he is already recovering 35,000 by subletting some portion of the building. So how much actual rent he is spending? 65. So under the head PGBP, he should be allowed only 65. So instead of taking the deduction of 1 lakh here, then showing 35,000 taxable under the head IFOS, don't do all those things, no. Just claim 65,000 under the head PGBP. Understood or not? So how much will be the rent for this portion? Tell me, how much will be the rent for this portion which is actually used for the purpose of business or profession? Should it be 1 lakh? The answer is no. It should be 1 lakh minus 35,000 which he has already recovered. So the portion which is used for the purpose of his business or profession, the rent for that portion is only 1 lakh. No, 1 lakh minus 35,000 which he has already recovered will be considered as the rent which he has paid for the portion which he is using for the purpose of his business or profession. Only that 65,000 will be allowed as a deduction. Got it, sir? But entire 1 lakh will be treated as income for that landlord. Entire 1 lakh which he is paying will be treated as income for that landlord. Will you remember this point? What if such type of adjustment will come in the exam? Name of the assessee given, Adarsh. Adarsh is doing a footwear business in a premises. For that premises, Adarsh is paying a rent of rupees 1 lakh to the landlord, from whom he has taken the premises on rent. Since the premises were too big to do his business operations, he has sublet some portion of the premises to Mr. Mohan for rupees 35,000. Calculate the PGBP income of others. While calculating PGBP income of that business will be taxable, but out of that income, will he get the deduction of the entire 1 lakh which he is paying? Or he'll get only the deduction for 65,000? Because out of 1 lakh which he is paying, he is already recovering 35,000. So remaining 65,000 is only the rental expenditure for him. And that 65,000 is for that portion which is being used for the purpose of his business or profession. That only should be allowed as a deduction. Understood? So while taking the deduction for rent, will you remember all these things? Sure. Now let's come to rates and taxes. Rates and taxes will be allowed subject to 43B. Under section 30, you can take the deduction for what? Rates and taxes. But they are saying, please pay attention. Rates and taxes we are going to allow, but we are going to allow subject to. So now, one section will come in the third part of the chapter. What is the third part of the chapter? Disallowances. In the disallowances, one section is there, 43B, which says that certain expenses of your business will be allowed only on payment basis. What basis? So 43B has certain expenses. 43B talks about certain business expenses. These are expenses of your business only. You are going to get the deduction of these business expenses. But 43B says that this will be allowed only on payment basis. Whatever may be your method of accounting, even if you are following mercantile system of accounting, even if you are calculating your PGBP income on mercantile basis, even if all the expenses we are going to allow on due basis, mercantile basis, but these expenses which are specified in 43B will be allowed only on payment basis. Pay these expenses in this year. Take the deduction in this year. Or pay these expenses on or before the due date of filing ROI of this year. Then also these expenses will be allowed in this year. But if you fail to pay these expenses in this year or on or before the due date of filing ROI of this year, ROI means return of income. So for this previous year, what is the due date of filing return of income? The due date will come in the assessment year. Either the due date will be 31st July or the due date will be 31st October, depending on the case. So in some cases, the due date of filing return is 31st October. of the assessment year. In some cases, the due date of filing return of income is 31st October. So, if I talk about previous year and assessment year, sir, what is my previous year, sir? Sir, what is my previous year? And what is the relevant assessment year? So if previous year 25-26 is there, for this previous year, if you have to file your return, so let the previous year get over, and in the assessment year, you will file the return of this previous year. What is the meaning of return? Return of income. It is a form where you give all the details of your incomes which you have earned during the previous year. Details of your income, details of your tax liability, all those details you provide to the income tax department in a format, and that format is nothing but return of income. That return you can file only after the previous year will get over. Only then you will come to know about the previous year, no? That how much was your total income for this year, which incomes you have earned in this year, salary income was how much, house property income was how much, PGBP income was how much, tax liability was how much, yes or no? How have you paid that tax liability? Every detail of the income and tax liability of this year can be given only after the year is over. So previous year will get over, and you will do the calculations of this previous year. You will calculate the total income, you will calculate the tax liability in the assessment year. Assessment year 26-27. Assessment year 26-27. In this year, you are going to compute total income, you are going to compute your tax liability, etc. And then you are going to show these details to the income tax department by filing a return. So in that return, you will provide all these information. So when the return for this previous year will be filed? In the previous year itself, or in the assessment year? So in the assessment year, there are due dates. There are to file the return of this previous year. So due date can be either 31st July or the due date can be 31st October. So on or before 31st July 2026 or on or before 31st October of the assessment year. This is what? This is due date of filing ROI. On or before this due date, your return you should file. Now tell me, are you doing a business in the previous year? Yes or no? So, in this previous year, whatever business or profession you are doing, for those business or profession, you have incurred some expenses in this year. So either pay the expenses in this year only, and take the deduction. Or at least pay these expenses on or before the due date and take the deduction. Because certain expenses we are going to allow only on payment basis. So the expenses, what did I say? Prescribed under section 43B. Expenses prescribed under 43B has to be paid in this year, or they have to be paid on or before the due date of filing ROI of this year. Only then those expenses you can claim as a deduction out of the business income of this year. Understanding? But if those expenses are not paid in this year, are not paid on or before the due date of filing ROI of this year, then those expenses cannot be claimed as a deduction in this year from this year's business income. They will be disallowed as per section 43B. Even if you are following mercantile system of accounting, these expenses will be disallowed. These expenses will not be allowed on due basis. So which are those expenses? We are going to see them in detail in 43B. But out of those expenses, one expense is taxes. What? Taxes, duties and cess which you pay in the course of your business or profession. So those are the taxes, duties and cess which you usually pay in the course of your business or profession. Make sure that you have actually paid those taxes. The taxes we are not going to allow on due basis. So for example, for this year, you are going to take income on what basis? Mercantile basis. Because you are following books on mercantile basis, so you are supposed to calculate PGBP on what basis? Mercantile basis. So income of this year, income of whether received or receivable, will be taxable in this year. Expenses, all the expenses of this year will be allowed as a deduction in this year, whether they are paid or payable. But remember, out of all those expenses, certain expenses are prescribed under section, cannot be claimed on due basis, cannot be claimed on mercantile basis. These expenses are allowed only on payment basis. Even if you are calculating your business income on mercantile basis, even if you are calculating your business income on mercantile basis, but these expenses will be allowed only on payment basis. Meaning, you have to pay these expenses during this year only. If not in this year, then at least pay these expenses on or before the due date of filing your ROI. Then these expenses we are going to allow you as a deduction from this business income for this year. Yes or no? But if return filing due date is gone, return filing due date is, and you have not paid those expenses, then those expenses will be disallowed as per 43B. They cannot be claimed as a deduction from this year's business income. Later on, whenever you will pay, these expenses will be allowed as a deduction in that year. Business income of that year in which they are actually paid. But this year, from this year's business income, they cannot be claimed as a deduction because they are not paid on or before the due date of filing your ROI of this year. Will you remember? So how many such expenses are there? We are going to see all those expenses in 43B. But in all those expenses, one expense is taxes, duties, cess related to your business or profession. So tell me, any rates and taxes for the building which is used for the purpose of your business or profession. See, the tax rates and taxes of the building used for the purpose of your business or profession which you are claiming as a deduction under section 30. Can I say these are the taxes related to your business only? Hello? Will be allowed subject to 43B. Only on payment basis. Only on. Meaning that? Meaning what? You have to pay the rates and taxes in this year. Claim it as a deduction in this year. Or at least pay them on or before the due date of filing ROI of this year. Then also these rates and taxes will be allowed as a deduction. But this year's due date of filing ROI is gone. And these rates and taxes are still unpaid. Will you get any deduction for these rates and taxes in this year's business income? As per 43B, it will be disallowed. It will be disallowed and will be allowed in the business income, from the business income of that year in which they are actually paid and not from this year. This is known as subject to 43B. Did I tell you this thing about rent? And is this thing applicable to other expenses also? No. 43B only applicable to understanding. All the other expenses can be claimed based on method of accounting regularly followed. So if you are calculating your PGBP income on what basis? Mercantile basis, then these expenses can be claimed on what? Due basis, mercantile basis. Yes or no? No need to check whether they are actually paid or not. This year's expense will be allowed in this year. But if you are regularly following what basis? Cash basis of accounting. Which accounting? Then these expenses will also be allowed on cash basis. Understanding or not? So here you are going to see the method of accounting, but your method of accounting will become irrelevant. Even if you are following mercantile system of accounting, rates and taxes will be allowed only on payment basis. Subject to 43B. Will you remember this? So, 4 expenses. Number 1, rent. Rent is allowed as a deduction. Rent for the building, which is used for the purpose of your business or profession, will be allowed as a deduction if you have taken the building on rent for your business or profession. If you are the owner of that building, then have you paid the rent? No. Will it be allowed as a deduction? No. But still, in your P&L account of the business, you have debited the rent. Should be allowed or should not be allowed? As a sole proprietor, broadly, how can you pay the rent to yourself? You are using your own building in your business or profession. How can you say that for this building you are paying rent? The rent which you have debited there is a notional, imaginary amount of rent which you have just debited to P&L to reduce your profit. Accounting entry is there. That rent is not actual expense. Will not be allowed as a deduction if you are the owner of the building. Yes or no? Sole proprietor. Getting my point? Next one. Rates and taxes will be allowed only on payment basis, meaning allowed subject to 43B. Now coming to repairs. Repairs can be of 2 types. Current repairs and capital repairs. Which repairs? Now, can anyone tell me what is current repair, capital repair? Just try to apply your mind. Logic. Imagine about a building, no? First imagine about a building. In this building, I am doing some, okay, now. So what type of repairs can I do? Can I do the painting work and all? Some ceiling was leaking. I got the ceiling fixed. I got the ceiling repaired. One tile was broken. I got the tile replaced. Yes or no? Painting work I am doing. All these are what? Repairing work. But by doing such repairing in the building, will the value of building increase? One tile was broken. I got that tile replaced. The building's value from 50 lakh, it becomes 60 lakhs. Huh? Is this repairing expenditure increasing the capacity or the value of the building? No. So by incurring the repairs cost, the value and the capacity of my building is not increasing, then this is repairs of current nature. Only these type of repairs will be allowed as a deduction under section 30. Ceiling was leaking, so I got the ceiling repaired. Because of this, my building's value will increase. My building's capacity increase. Area becomes double. So this is a repair of current nature. Getting my point? Painting done. Walls are too dirty, so I got the walls painted. What is this? Repairing only. Because of that, the value, capacity of my building is increasing. Then this is current repairs. This is deduction under section 30 will be available only for current repairs. But there are capital repairs also. Capital repairs means